Right now at 5, immigration fears weighing in on kids in the South Bay as the school year begins. A stunning new statistic on the students who will be staying away.
Immigration enforcement has been a reality in this neighborhood for as long as I've been here.
And they escaped starvation and a war zone. We're at SFO as children injured in Gaza arrive in the Bay Area for life-saving medical treatment. Plus, a solitary doll serving as a haunting reminder of the past 8 decades ago. Plus, you'll meet the filmmakers highlighting the untold stories of the atomic bomb. And coming up later,
a former performing member of the platinum-selling band Boston is now providing harmony and healing to patients. His story coming up.
CBS News Bay Area Evening Edition with Ryan Yamamoto.
Well, as school doors open all across the Bay Area this week, thousands of students in San Jose may not show up if last year is any indication. Recent ICE activity in the area has left immigrant families on edge, and students worry that agents could come to their homes. Lem Ramirez on the impact the enforcement has already had in the classroom.
Well, the start of a new school year is always an exciting time for the students and the faculty, and it's no different here at Overfelt High School in San Jose. But this year, because of where this community lies, there are some added concerns around the issue of immigration. At Overfelt High School, student athletes are some of the first to return to campus, even though classes haven't started yet. Lanaya Jones is excited to return to flag football in this, her senior year.
I'm very excited. I think senior year is going to be exciting. It's going to go by really fast, I hope.
But even as excitement fills the air, she's also picking up feelings of anxiety among some of her friends. Recent immigration enforcement activity in this part of San Jose has put neighborhood families on edge.
All the immigration stuff is pretty scary because a lot of students don't know what's going to happen to their families during school, and they get worried.
Overfelt High serves a large immigrant population, and teachers here are doing what they can to support the students.
And they're scared that they might come to our school, even though our school is protecting us and they're telling us that they have our backs and stuff.
Immigration enforcement has been a reality in this neighborhood for as long as I've been here.
And even though there are legal limits to what the school can do, Principal Vito Chiala says school is the best place for students to be.
At this point, our protocol is follow the rules of the law. If an agent has a warrant, we're going to have that process through our district administration, make sure it's a legitimate warrant, and we're going to follow the law. That's what we're going to do. And at the same time, we're going to do everything we can to keep all of our students and all of our families safe.
To strengthen that sense of safety, the Santa Clara County Office of Education began pushing for statewide protections after a dramatic drop-off in student attendance this year.
When the administration first took office, we noticed that there was an immediate 5,000 student decline in our average daily attendance. By February of 2025, that decline doubled to 10,000 students. And we know that that has a direct impact in terms of long-term outcomes for students.
AB 49, co-authored by the office, would require strict conditions before ICE can enter any school property and would prevent access to areas where students are present.
Being able to ensure that immigration enforcement agents aren't allowed in spaces where students are present ensures that students are not able to be directly intimidated or even questioned.
Despite the challenges, Overfelt is forging ahead. Chiala says summer school attendance was strong this year, and he's optimistic that students will show up ready to learn, despite the challenges some families are facing. Lanaya has an eye on reaching her own goals, making plays as a receiver in flag football, getting good grades, and planning to further her education.
I want to go to San Jose Community College and then either go to San Jose State or out-of-state college, just somewhere new.
And that's the message Overfelt hopes to send, that students here can thrive even in uncertain times.
And AB 49 is still moving through the state legislature, and advocates hope it becomes law by the end of the year. Well, today was the first day of school for several East Bay districts, including Castro Valley Unified. We spoke to a few parents and kids at Castro Valley Elementary this morning who say, well, the summer just flew by.
What do you think, Athena?
Too short.
It was
Too short?
I feel that it's a lot shorter now than it was when I went to school. That's for sure. I think they're only doing 2 months now when we used to get 3.
We all feel the same way. Well, students from Mount Diablo, New Haven, Antioch Unified, and Brentwood Union School District also returned to class today. Well, an unusual challenge to the Trump administration immigration tactics, this one coming from a student-run newspaper, the Stanford Daily, taking on the Trump administration and taking them to court. They say some international students who write for the paper are afraid to voice their opinions for fear of being deported. A lawsuit was filed against Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. It accuses the administration of threatening to deport or revoke the visas of international students with pro-Palestinian views. The newspaper argues this violates their free speech rights. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security said this is a baseless political lawsuit. DHS does not arrest people based on protected speech. It went on to say it takes its role of removing threats to the public and communities seriously. Well, 3 injured children from Gaza have arrived in San Francisco to get much-needed medical help. Ann Makovic joins us now with the latest and the new details.
Yeah, what a journey in their lives, Ryan. The children and their families landed at SFO at around 1:20 this afternoon after a nearly 15-hour flight from Qatar. It was an... Yeah, that was the moment they were greeted by supporters and volunteers once they were off the plane and in the airport. The 3 children, 14-year-old Leanne, 8-year-old Enes, and 6-year-old Hazal, have various injuries from separate bombings, ranging from severe burns to traumatic leg injuries. They were previously getting medical evaluations in Jordan before coming here to the U.S. This effort was put together by the U.S. nonprofit Heal Palestine. A South Bay doctor tells us he spent his time in Gaza with these children.
I spent 3 months in Gaza over the past year, and 2 of the 3 were my patients there on the ground. So I know their medical conditions very well. It's really a miracle in and of itself that they've just arrived. We've been waiting for this day for a long, long time.
Organizers say 3 different hospitals will be taking care of the children. Host families have volunteered to open up their homes for the families while the kids get treatment. 2 of the children are traveling with their mother and siblings. The 3rd child was the sole survivor of his own family after a bombing. He's traveling with his uncle. In the meantime, this is what many people are still facing in Gaza, another chaotic drop of aid aiming to feed the thousands of Palestinians still on the verge of starvation. Local health officials say at least 38 people were killed overnight and today while seeking aid. The Israeli military said it had fired warning shots when crowds approached its forces. Another 25 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes. Ryan.
All right, thanks, Ann. Well, new developments in the mass shooting on the military base in Georgia. A 28-year-old Army sergeant in custody. He's accused of using his personal handgun to shoot 5 fellow soldiers this morning at Fort Stewart. That fort is about 40 miles southwest of Savannah and is home to thousands of soldiers assigned to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division. Dave Malkoff has the latest on the victims and the investigation into that attack.
Law enforcement responded to reports of a shooting in Fort Stewart's 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area just before 11 on Wednesday morning. The suspect is a male U.S. Army sergeant.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team.
Moments later, the fort was locked down. An Army official tells CBS News the suspect was apprehended by the Army Criminal Investigative Division.
Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision.
In the aftermath, officials posted on social media that there is no active threat to the community. The wounded soldiers were treated on site and taken to an Army hospital. Some were also taken to Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah. That's according to a spokesperson for the facility. During an event at the White House, President Trump addressed the shooting in Georgia.
The perpetrator of this atrocity, which is exactly what it is, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The entire nation is praying for the victims and their families, and hopefully they'll fully recover.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth were also briefed on the shooting. Fort Stewart is the largest Army post east of the Mississippi River.
Well, during the news conference, the Brigadier General said fellow soldiers tackled Radford and subdued him. Fort Stewart released a statement saying no additional information will be released until that investigation is complete. Texas Democrats are still in their self-imposed exile after fleeing the state to stop the vote on a bill to redraw the state's congressional map. That could potentially give Republicans 5 more seats in the House. They say if it goes through, it could have negative implications nationwide, while Republicans are defending the move.
After Texas, it will be your state. After your state, it'll be this entire country.
It has to be done the right way. But again, the law also allows them to do it. And sometimes you're in the majority and sometimes you're not.
Governors in California, Illinois, and New York say they will consider redrawing their own maps to favor Democrats if the Texas plan does indeed go through. Still ahead, a man stabbed to death outside a downtown San Jose bar, coming up the investigation that's landed 2 people behind bars. And it's been 80 years since the bombs dropped on Hiroshima. Coming up, meet the keeper of a haunting relic in San Francisco that serves as a reminder to a dark past. And a big announcement from Big Tech, why Apple CEO Tim Cook was with President Trump today, and the unique gift that he gave him.
And you're definitely feeling a warm up today. Temperature is about 5 to 10 degrees above what they were just 24 hours ago. I'll let you know how long these more summer-like conditions will stick around for coming up in just a bit.
2 women are in jail accused of stabbing a man to death outside of a bar in downtown San Jose. Police arrested Mercedes Rosales and Michael Van yesterday. The stabbing happened July 20th on South 2nd Street. A 22-year-old man was found with at least 1 stab wound. He was rushed to a hospital where he later died. Police say the killer fled the scene before they arrived, but during the investigation, they were able to identify both women as primary suspects.
Suspect Rosales was booked for murder for the crime, and suspect Van was booked for accessory to the murder, as she had played a crucial role in making this crime occur. We have enough evidence to show that she really helped precipitate the actual crime of murder.
Police say a motive is still unknown, but evidence shows a physical fight happened that night. Help is on its way from the North Bay to fight California's largest wildfire. Marin County Fire sent nearly 40 firefighters to help fight the Gifford fire that's burning in Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties. Division Chief Mike Mariucci says it's a warning for the Bay Area.
It's just really a tell that we are in fire season. It just doesn't feel like it right now. And we've had a very mild season, but we've had some very damaging fires in Northern California. It's only a matter of time till fire comes to the Bay Area, so we need to be prepared.
Well, the strike team sent to the Central Coast consists of 2 bulldozers and 2 support units. In the meantime, the Gifford fire has burned more than 90,000 acres in Los Padres National Forest, and it's just only 9% contained. Officials announced more evacuation orders for areas near the fire. Firefighters are also preparing for a heat wave for the rest of the week. And speaking of a heat wave, it's bringing Zoe Mintz, and even in San Francisco, you can definitely feel it was a little bit warmer outside.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was definitely warmer today, about 5 to 10 degrees warmer across most of the Bay Area, as there is a heat dome that's actually building across Southern California and the desert Southwest. And you can actually see the smoke. It is following that heat dome. So the good news for us is that smoke, it's off and away. It's not going to be impacting us here in the Bay Area. We might see a little bit of Canadian wildfire smoke filtering down across Northern California later this week and into the upcoming weekend. It's something we'll keep a close eye on, but luckily for us, the biggest impact is sunshine and warmer weather today. There is going to be a little bit of a cool down tomorrow, though, so don't expect our weather to stay this way forever. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride as we step out throughout the next several days. Today, temperature is about 5 to 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. By tomorrow, though, they're not going to be nearly as warm. We'll be back to more seasonable conditions, maybe a degree above average by tomorrow afternoon. So again, the warm weather, it is sticking around today, but as that frontal boundary makes its way across the state, that's actually cooling us down by as soon as tomorrow. Let's pull that up and show you what we're seeing right now. Temperatures are pretty comfortable, if not hot out there. They're still sitting in the upper 80s to low 90s across our more inland communities. North Bay communities also seeing upper 80s to low 90s. Areas by the Bay, upper 70s to 80s, and then directly along the coast, mid to lower 60s. Compared to yesterday at this time, everybody is about 5, if not more than 10 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Tomorrow, though, there's going to be a little bit of a cool down, like I said, as there is a storm system that you can actually see that frontal boundary making its way across the Bay Area. This line of cloud coverage that you could see over the past couple of hours, it's actually bringing us a slight cool down that will persist into tomorrow. It's also going to bring us a little bit more cloud coverage along our coastal communities. Waking up early tomorrow morning, there is going to be more fog, and that fog is likely going to stick around from the Golden Gate all the way down our South Bay coastal communities tomorrow afternoon. That's going to keep their temperatures a bit cooler, not just along the coast, but even our inland areas are going to be about 3 to 5 degrees cooler tomorrow afternoon. Coastal communities still going to be in the mid-60s, still comfortable, just a little bit cloudier. Upper 70s for areas by the Bay, mid to upper 80s down into the Santa Clara Valley and across our North Bay communities. Much lower potential of seeing those widespread 90s. It's only our inland East Bay communities that are going to be in the mid to lower 90s before warming right back up into Friday. So it's going to be a bit of a ping pong pattern that's going to be heading our way over the next several days. But that warm up, that more summer-like heat, it is going to stick around through the rest of the week. Tomorrow, like I said, a degree or two cooler, but still above average for this time of year. Friday, it is going to be the peak of the heat ahead of us as those two areas of high pressure converge over the Bay Area and really allow us to enjoy that more summer-like heat, but not the extreme heat per se. There is going to be a gradual cool down heading our way into this weekend of weather ahead of us. And even though, yes, it's going to be hot out there Thursday and into Friday, our heat risk is only at a moderate category. So yes, heat safety is still top of mind. Don't forget the sunscreen, the sunglasses, and drinking a lot of water, but it's a lot better than it could be for this time of year. Normally in August, we're seeing triple digits across the Bay Area. So hey, upper 80s to upper 90s, that is definitely warmer than we have been feeling, but not the extreme heat that we have felt in our August month, because normally inland areas, you're used to a couple of triple digits sprinkled in there, and you haven't seen any so far this season. You'll be in the upper 90s through Friday and then gradually cooling down into the weekend of weather and then getting back to below average by the time that we step out next week. So if you enjoy the more summer-like heat, moral of the story is enjoy the rest of this week and weekend, because a cool down with chillier weather is going to be heading our way next week. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Zoe. And you may remember the Boston song More Than a Feeling. Well, one of the band members lives right here in the East Bay. Coming up, how he's using music to help veterans. And later, how a small movie theater chain got on Apple's bad side. Why the tech giant is taking them to court. We all know music can bring peace, boost spirits, and even help people retrieve memories. And a former member of the rock band Boston is in tune with these benefits and more as he uses his musical gift to serve others. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
Yeah, David Victor had an unforgettable experience performing for pediatric patients. And after that, he began to harness the power of harmony and healing. It's a far cry from his touring days with the platinum-selling band Boston. Yet David Victor knows something big could happen among those in his small audience.
It's like the sense of smell. You know, you smell something and it just awakens you in a way. And music, I think, has that same effect.
David first saw that effect more than a decade ago when he performed with the band at a Southern California Children's Hospital for charity.
At that time, I was singing a bunch of Boston songs that, 8-year-olds had not been exposed to, but yet, their eyes would light up.
That opened his eyes to music's power to heal.
It was so meaningful and beautiful, and I just thought, this should be.
So David founded Harmony and Healing in 2019. Since then, the San Ramon-based nonprofit has provided free live music visits in person and virtually to hundreds of patients in hospice, hospitals, and rehab facilities nationwide. He has seen the impact on people in memory care.
They go right back to when they're 18 and a half years old, driving a Camaro or something and having the time of their life. That's just something that is, it's something only music can really do.
David, who's now a digital marketing strategist by day, spends an hour on this afternoon performing for military veterans at the VA in Martinez. Harmony and Healing's regular visits are part of the VA's recreational therapy care for the whole person. Air Force veteran Nancy Gant, who deals with PTSD, ends his day on a high note.
I had a mindset where I was able to calm down and just listen to the lyrics of the song and what was going on. It really felt good.
And David strikes the right chord for Army veteran Norman Kimball's sense of well-being.
Life hasn't been good for me over the last 15 years, and this is something that I really need to keep me going forward and not falling back.
David's team of 24 artists includes Jordan Foley, who portrays princesses like Elsa from Disney's Frozen. The monthly visits bring a special kind of magic to patients receiving respite and end-of-life care at George Mark Children's House in San Leandro.
Look at that, friends!
Child Life Coordinator Kyle Amsler.
It brings so much joy, so much life into the house. David has really understood the power of music for our population, for kids in pediatric palliative care.
I feel wonderful that we can do this and make people happy.
So for providing free, uplifting music visits through harmony and healing, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to David Victor. Now, David is looking for more professional artists in a variety of music types, for example, Hawaiian. The artists are paid, and part of the money is raised by having private fundraisers at people's homes. So you can host a benefit concert and harmony and healing, and David and his band, for example, will come and play.
And you and I were chatting, you were talking about those fundraisers that you can have at your own home. Yeah. One of our very own has been a part of this, right?
Yeah, Juliette Goodrich. She emceed one. It was just last weekend. So it's a lot of fun, raises money, and helps harmony and healing.
Of course Juliette does it, because she's always singing show tunes and singing rock songs anyway. All right, thanks, Sharon. Well, you can nominate a local hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award at kpix.com/icon. Well, still ahead at 5:30, Apple CEO Tim Cook made an appearance in the Oval Office today. What he says is the tech giant's next move in the U.S. And Oakland's police chief joining the community at National Night Out. How he says officers are trying to keep up with the trend of falling crime. And a somber remembrance in Japantown commemorating the day the atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima 80 years ago.
The Bay Area Events Calendar, brought to you by Broadway San Jose.
Here's what's happening in the Bay Area this weekend. Savor the sights, flavors, and sounds of Filipino culture with San Francisco's Pistahan Festival and Parade. And it's a big music weekend in the city with Outside Lands. But don't miss Oakland's own Pointer Sisters free music concert at Stern Grove. Some Like It Hot, Broadway's award-winning musical comedy, is returning to the Bay Area this fall. Download the Broadway San Jose app to access the pre-sale code now before the public sale tomorrow. The Bay Area event calendar is brought to you by BroadwaySanJose.com.
Right now at 5:30, remembering a dark time in world history. How people are commemorating the atomic bombing of Hiroshima in the Bay Area 8 decades later. And it's been 80 years since the United States dropped the world's first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. That day was August 6, 1945 at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. The bomb destroyed the city, instantly killing 70,000 people. And 3 days later, on August 9th, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, killing another 40,000 people. Those attacks forced Japan to surrender on August 15th, marking the end of World War II. Back here in the Bay Area, a commemoration for victims of Hiroshima atomic bomb was held right here in San Francisco's Japantown at 4:15 p.m., the exact time the bomb was dropped by the crew of the Enola Gay B-29 bomber. The Japanese American Religious Federation, along with community members, took part in that ceremony. And now a new documentary is shedding more light on the devastation of nuclear fallout through the eyes of American medics and the experiences of atomic bomb survivors. Survivors that one museum in J-Town is now amplifying through a single relic that serves as a haunting reminder. Inside a tiny museum in San Francisco's Japantown, Rosalind Tanai is the keeper of a dark reminder of what happened 80 years ago in Japan.
Quite haunting.
A doll that was pulled from the rubble of the second of two atomic blasts that killed 110,000 people instantly and at least another 100,000 people from radiation exposure.
American family brought it in and let us know that they had kept it all these years. It was given to them by a family that survived the atomic bomb blast.
And it's those survivor stories that Tonai wants people to experience and understand, including San Francisco's Jack Dariki, a Japanese-American visiting family in Hiroshima who became stuck in Japan because of the war. He was working at a factory on the outskirts of the city when the first bomb dropped. KPIX5 interviewed him 10 years ago.
We saw 3 aircraft coming above us. I said, "What is this?" And then at that time the bomb exploded. All the factory window went out. It flew over my head. I was weighed 100 pounds then. I was floating in the air.
And now a new documentary, Atomic Echoes, wants to shed more light on the devastation.
The bombs we have now are so much stronger than...
I had a chance to talk to the filmmakers Victoria Kelly and Karen Tanabe.
Very few Americans understand what happened under the mushroom cloud, right? We all see the exact same image, which really covers up the atrocities. And then we stop there in the history books.
Tanabe's great-great-uncle was part of the rebuilding effort in Hiroshima, and Kelly's grandfather was an American medic in Nagasaki who witnessed the effects of peak radiation sickness. He suffered from PTSD and died at the age of 42. The film interviews other American medics who talked about what they saw.
And they were really torn, like they were really proud of their service. And at the same time, all of them said, you know, we were there and we can't ever have these bombs happen again because they were the worst thing we've ever seen.
For Tanai, it is a topic still relevant today.
We're on the cusp of a nuclear buildup. This is really a call for world peace, so we really need to take a pause and take a look at the human costs and the consequences of a possible nuclear fallout.
Her hope, history that happened even 8 decades ago, will never repeat itself. That doll from Nagasaki was tested for radiation. It did contain some trace amounts, but it is safe. As for Jack Dariki, he is still alive and lives in San Francisco. And the Atomic Echoes documentary, that's currently airing on PBS. A solemn memorial was held in Hiroshima to remember those who died during and after the atomic bomb. Leaders from 120 countries and territories, including the U.S., gathered at Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Park to honor the victims. Hiroshima's mayor urged the international community to learn from the lessons of the past. And according to the Federation of American Scientists, 9 countries currently have around 12,000 nuclear weapons combined. The nonprofit says Russia and the U.S. possess about 87% of the world's total nuclear weapons, followed by China. The Federation says its numbers are just estimates since some countries do not disclose the exact amount. And in June, the U.S. bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran to prevent the country from developing nuclear weapons. At the time, President Trump said the attack obliterated the facilities, but an assessment revealed the strikes may have only set Iran's nuclear program back by a few months. Peace talks in Moscow today. The U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Russian President Vladimir Putin to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The talks come just days before President Trump's deadline for Russia to make a deal for or face new sanctions. The president posted on social media that discussions were highly productive and said great progress was made. But a senior administration official tells CBS News that additional sanctions are still expected to start on Friday.
Ambassador Witkoff's on his way back now. We just got off the phone with him a few minutes ago. We'll have some other discussions throughout the day, and then hopefully there'll be some announcements here fairly soon. Maybe positive, maybe not. We'll see.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he spoke with President Trump about the meeting and reaffirmed his country's support for a lasting and reliable peace with Russia. President Trump also tackling the tech world today. The president and Apple announcing a major investment in the U.S. manufacturing. The tech giant is committing another $100 billion to U.S. companies and suppliers. CEO Tim Cook said it would go toward creating 20,000 new jobs and building a smart glass manufacturing line in Kentucky. Cook marked the occasion by gifting the president a piece of engraved glass set in 24K gold base. This announcement brings Apple's total investment in U.S. manufacturing to $600 billion over the next 4 years.
This is a significant step toward the ultimate goal of ensuring that iPhones sold in the United States of America also are made in America.
During the announcement, President Trump threatened 100% tariffs on semiconductors and chips made internationally, but said that companies that had promised to manufacture in the U.S. would not face a charge. Oakland's National Night Out was celebrated as the city's touting a drop in violent crime numbers. Amanda Harry introduces us to the bishop who put on this block party together to bring officers and the community together and to highlight the good in Oakland.
Acts Full Gospel Church transformed from a house of worship into a community block party Tuesday night.
When the community comes together, I'm telling you, you're going to see some great things happen.
Bishop Bob Jackson has hosted National Night Out for years. People get together to get to know one another. There was face painting and music, but also necessary services like free haircuts and groceries for people to take home. He says it's important for people to see the good in Oakland.
Don't be so fearful, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody in Oakland is not a criminal, never, and shooting and killing. Come on out and enjoy the sun, the weather, and enjoy one another.
Jackson turns 80 next year, and he's lived in Oakland his whole life. He says growing up here in the 1940s and 50s, it was a different place.
We didn't even have a key to the front door. We had no reason to lock it. Was nobody going to break in your house and steal your television?
He wants to see Oakland become a safer place. He says National Night Out is a step in that direction. It's designed to strengthen the relationship between people living in the city and their law enforcement. Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell shared a message with residents.
To make sure that our constituents, our community members know that we're here as a partner with them. We're not a police department in a neighborhood. We want to be part of that neighborhood, part of that community.
He says they want to solve Oakland's crime problem, and it's improving. Violent property crime numbers are down, but there's still work that needs to be done.
I would just say, just hang on. We have really good, solid leadership in the new mayor, Mayor Lee. We've got a good city administrator in Justin Johnson. You have a great police department, and they're doing everything they can to try to make Oakland safer, but we want you to feel safer, and we know that's going to take time from where we were to where we want to get to.
Jackson emphasized that events like this will help Oakland become safer again. He thinks they should have it multiple times a year to foster the connection he remembers fondly from his childhood.
We respected one another. We were real neighbors, and that's what we need to bring back into the city of Oakland, so we have neighborhoods instead of just hoods.
And OPD is planning to release its mid-year crime statistics. That will happen sometime tomorrow. Coming up, what's in a name? A small movie theater chain is finding out after being sued by one of the largest companies in the world. Plus, she's a trailblazer breaking barriers in the world of opera, where you can hear the first transgender artist perform a principal role on an American operatic stage. Apple is suing San Francisco's newest movie theater, Apple Cinemas, claiming the East Coast theater chain is trying to trick ticket buyers into thinking that the two are affiliated. Apple Cinemas just opened up at the former Van Ness movie multiplex last month. It plans on opening another theater in Danville, and Apple says the movie chain is trying to dilute its brand by opening Bay Area locations near its Cupertino headquarters. Apple is seeking unspecified damages and a court order barring Apple Cinemas from using any confusingly similar trademark containing the word Apple. August is National Breastfeeding Month, and the San Francisco Department of Public Health led a rally and march to show support for breastfeeding mothers. The march was held in partnership with the Women, Infants, and Children program, better known as WIC. Marchers walked around Civic Center Plaza carrying signs and blowing bubbles. San Francisco's public health director talked about how breastfeeding can impact a baby's life in the long term.
And what we know is that what happens in the first few months and years of a kid's life has lasting impacts on health, economic outcomes, societal outcomes, and that's why it's so important to be able to invest in our kids and young families.
Children who are primarily breastfed in their infancy tend to be at lower risk for diabetes, asthma, obesity, and certain types of cancers, and much more. California is also celebrating Transgender History Month, and this week San Francisco will host a performance recognizing transgender and non-binary artists in classical music. Now in its fourth year, the event known as Expansive is celebrated and presented by Opera Parallel in the Transgender District. It highlights the work of transgender, non-binary performers in classical and operatic music. Among this year's feature artists, internationally acclaimed baritone Lucia Lucas, who made history as the first transgender artist to perform a principal role on an American operatic stage. Lucas has since appeared with major companies, including the Metropolitan Opera, English National Opera, Lyric Opera of Chicago, and Deschutes Opera Berlin.
It's not easy, and I don't like to think of myself as making history. This is what I want to do, you know, and I hope the next person has an easier time. But yeah, not trying to make history, just trying to live my life, you know.
The one-night-only performance is scheduled for tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at the ACT Theater in San Francisco as part of California's Transgender History Month, first recognized by the state in 2021. For more information or to purchase tickets, just visit transgenderdistrictsf.com or operaparallel.org. Coming up, it may be time to dust off your large coupons for the store that recently went out of business. It's now staging a comeback.
Straight ahead in sports, a sort of 49ers family reunion. Valkyries hoping for the big payback. And the Giants, are they serving notice that they are not to be ignored?
Well, we're following some breaking news. United Airlines just issuing a ground stop at several airports because of a tech issue. It is impacting SFO as well as Chicago, Denver, Houston, and Newark. So far, this is only impacting United flights. No word yet on how long this ground stop will last. We have reached out to SFO and United to confirm more details. We will stay on top of this story and have much more coming up at 6 and close at 7.
Who is currently being stopped by that United
system outage. So it's impacting a lot of people right now. Yes. So as we bring in Zoe Hinch right now, I don't think it has anything to do with the weather, although it's been very warm outside.
Nothing to do with the weather. Yeah, my friend who's coming from Baltimore through Chicago, and then she'll actually supposed to be visiting me tomorrow morning. Coming to San Francisco.
May not happen.
I mean, fingers crossed that they figure it out, but it has nothing to do with the weather. Moral of the story, it has nothing to do with the heat. It has nothing to do with storms. And here in the Bay Area, there's really no weather issues unless you don't like the warm weather and sunshine, because that's all we have been seeing out there today. Plenty of beautiful conditions out there. It is really a nice sight to see, although you might notice that little finger of fog. It's beginning to make its way back through the Golden Gate, and we are expecting some foggier conditions overnight and into early tomorrow morning. Right now, though, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the heat, enjoy the mid-90s across our inland East Bay communities, and even in the 70s in San Francisco. That is such a nice change of pace. It's actually only been our third 70-degree day of the entire summer, and we're likely going to be seeing another 70 into Friday as well, as these temperatures have been about 3 to 5 degrees above average for this time of year along the coast, 5 to 10 degrees above average for our inland communities. That's today, though. Look at tomorrow. We're not expecting these well above average to stick around forever. We are actually going to be seeing a little bit of a ping pong pattern as we step out over the next several days. So overnight tonight, again, it is going to be a comfortable night out there. It is going to be very seasonable. The biggest difference is the fact that we are going to be dealing with more cloud coverage and more fog. And you actually kind of notice that area of clouds that moved across the bay. This is actually a frontal boundary, that area of cloud coverage. That's going to cool us down a little bit into tomorrow as well. And again, our fog is going to be a lot thicker along our coastal communities overnight tonight, waking up early tomorrow morning, and even sticking around tomorrow afternoon. Look at our view 3 o'clock tomorrow. We are going to be seeing a lot more fog and a lot more cloud coverage, and that's going to keep our temperatures a couple of degrees cooler into the early morning hours. We'll be seeing those low temperatures sitting in the mid-50s along our coastal communities, 60s across our inland areas. By tomorrow afternoon, though, we are going to be seeing those temperatures warming right back up to slightly above average, but not as warm as what we felt today. We're going to be in the mid-90s versus upper 90s across our inland East Bay communities, upper 80s to low 90s down into the Santa Clara Valley and across our North Bay. Although Santa Rosa, you might just be shy of that 90-degree mark tomorrow. A degree or two cooler than today, but again, nothing to write home about when it comes to that cool down. And it's likely not going to be until Friday that we are expecting the peak of the heat to arrive and then cooling down into the weekend and early next week. So moral of the story is, yes, it's going to be warmer than we have been feeling, but it's not going to be the extreme heat that we are used to in the summer season. The most that it's going to get Friday afternoon is that moderate category, which honestly isn't too bad out there. The reason that we're going to be warming up is because those areas of high pressure that we've been lacking basically all summer long have returned. After a bit of a cool down Thursday, the peak of the heat will arrive Friday, and then a gradual cool down pushing in by the end of the weekend and into early next week, when below average temperatures are expected to once again return to the forecast. We'll be back into the low 80s by the time that we step out next week. So moral of the story for everybody that wants to enjoy the more summer-like conditions, these next couple of days are for you. The sunshine going to stick around through the end of the weekend as well. And then by early next week, again, you'll be seeing even areas by the bay sitting in the upper 60s, more cloud coverage, more winds, more of those chilly conditions arriving next week again. So especially along the coast, enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. Ryan, over to you.
All right, thanks, Zoe. And coming up at 6, children who were wounded but survived the devastation in Gaza arrive safely at SFO, how Bay Area communities are coming together to care for them. Plus, it's back to school season, but it will be a while before students can come back to this elementary school in Richmond that was shut down a year ago. The new plan to rebuild it from the ground up. Plus, the vice mayor of Stockton accused of diverting $50,000 in taxpayer money for a comedy show. Why he says other city leaders are out to get him. The news at 6 with Juliet is coming up in about 10 minutes. Now let's head to Vern for a look at sports.
KPIX Sports is powered by Kia. Learn more at kia.com. Kia, movement that inspires.
NFL up top in the 49ers. They'll play their preseason opener Saturday night against the Denver Broncos. But before we talk about that game, the two teams have something else on the schedule.
We're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice.
The 49ers and Broncos will hold a joint practice Thursday in Santa Clara, a chance to compete against another team and also see a few familiar faces. Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga both signed with Denver in the offseason.
Love everything about joint practices, you know, being able to compete against another team finally. You know, you beat up on your own guys all the time. You know, getting some fresh faces here will be exciting, of course. Seeing Huff and Dre, you even see Mike McGlinchey over there, DJ Jones. You know, there's a lot of 49ers over there in Denver.
One downside, these joint practices are usually when tempers flare and fights break out. If that happens tomorrow, Hufanga has his sights set on one former teammate.
I always joke around. I told Trent, or I'm going to tell Trent that I'm going to start a fight with him just for fun. Probably the last person you guys want to fight. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. Trent Williams is not the one. Trent, if you see this, I'm so sorry. I got to do it.
WNBA and the Valkyries back in Valhalla tonight. After a 5-game road trip, the players and fans are probably feeling like this guy. Finally! Yeah, the Valkyries are finally home after playing 10 of their last 12 games on the road. Coach Nakase is okay with not, well, getting any more frequent flyer miles for a while.
Oh, it's good to be in your own beds, but also there's no more flights. Yeah. So not having the flights, it's testing our mental toughness. It's, you know what I mean, it's increasing our mental toughness, and more just we still want to continue to say, hey, we're doing this for KT. And at that moment, we're doing it for Mo and Chechi and Tip, and then last game we had to do it for Ja at halftime because she got ejected. Yeah.
Hey, how about the Giants? Bob Melvin had to wait a little bit for something to happen in Pittsburgh. Down one until it wasn't. Gerard Encarnacion opened a can of man's strength. 442-foot shot tied this game in a hurry. He's gone yard in back-to-back games. Tied at 2 in the ninth. Clutch hit from pinch hitter Dom Smith. The old Dominic kept it fair enough for Jung-Hoo Lee to circle the bases as the go-ahead run. The Giants won this 3-game series with back-to-back wins. 4-2 final today. The Giants host the Nationals this Friday. All right, so to reset, Giants, they got a record of 58 and 57, now down just 5 games back for a wild card playoff spot with 47 games left.
Good series for them, but the torture continues.
Oh, of course.
All right, thanks, Vern.
Makes it fun.
More than 100 cats were found crammed in a U-Haul in the Central Valley. Coming up, meet the people hoping to give them a second chance. Inside a U-Haul, more than 100 abandoned Persian cats were found inside the hot truck in Central California. And while some did not survive, others were recovering in Washington state. Samantha Lomibao learned more about these cats.
A warm welcome for these sweet, fluffy cats, landing in Snohomish County on Tuesday after being rescued from an overfilled U-Haul in Central California.
It's definitely a rough situation, and we wish that these people would have asked for help sooner rather than later.
Elizabeth Booth is with the Noah Center, where they're taking in 8 of the more than 100 Persian cats found trapped inside the moving truck with no food or water in Merced County in late June.
That whole U-Haul was just that one singular breed, and I know they ranged anywhere from a week old to several years old.
Sadly, 28 of them did not survive, and the ones that did have a lot of recovering to do.
They definitely have some rougher patches of skin that will be taken care of, and they definitely have some colds going on. They have a lot of sneezing and eye discharge. So these guys are back in our quarantine room for a little while right now until they get all checked out.
Booth tells me they regularly take in animals from that California shelter, usually from hoarding situations or at risk of euthanasia. These new arrivals are in good hands, but she says it'll take some time before they can come out to play.
They might need extensive surgeries. They might need recovering in isolation a little bit longer than most cats. So we'll kind of have to play it by ear.
And those cats are expected to be ready for adoption in a few weeks.